you want to be a leader? Hi, I'm Diane, your host of Epic Conversations. Thanks for joining us. We're back again with Josue Ibarra, and he's going to answer that question about being a leader. Do you want to be a leader? But there's some criteria that goes along with it. And Josue and I were in the same class at Charis Bible College. And you've also started your own podcast since then in 2019, around the same time we started these Epic Conversations show. So we want to hear more of it. You've just full of all kinds of information about leadership. That's one of your passions. So what are the criteria? How, if they want to be a leader, how do we be a leader?
Yeah, so previously we talked about servanthood. And so I want to talk again, just kind of tagline into that servanthood gives you access. It gives you access to everything that you need.
That's the key.
It's the key that opens the door, right? And I believe it opens the door for promotion. I believe it opens the door for truly just people and winning their hearts to come alongside the vision that God has given you. Because that's the thing, like if we can all do it by ourselves, then we're thinking too small. But the fact that we have people alongside of us, it's like, okay, now we're going towards something that's huge. But again, it all comes down to that having that servant attitude and not allowing even the call or the vision that God has given us to get to our head to think that, oh, people are here to serve me. No, it's still ultimately we're serving them.
There's a higher calling we're serving, a higher purpose, a higher vision.
Right.
Like you said, more than yourself. If we can do it all by ourselves, we don't need anybody else. Right. And I don't believe the Lord set us up that way in His kingdom. And
no, it's so true. And just like even Jesus, one of the examples I was looking at previously, it's interesting to me. Jesus went to go wash his disciples' feet when we hear that. But what's interesting is if we read the context of that verse, and you can find it in Matthew, I believe it's in chapter 16. As we look at that, Jesus, at first it reads off that Jesus knew that he came from God.
Mm-hmm.
He knew that he was going back to God.
Mm-hmm.
And he knew that all power was given to his hand.
Oh, yeah.
So, it's interesting. Even in us, like in a biblical sense, in leadership, we know that, hey, you are given an authority, whether it be by God, if you're, CEO, or whether you're working for an organization, maybe you're given authority by upper management or by the leads, right? All power is in your hand. Meaning you have all authority. You can hire, you can fire, you can discipline, you can, set up the office however you want, right? And you know where you're going. You know the ultimate goal that you're going to. But what's interesting is when you read that verse, the next verse right after that, Jesus immediately goes to start washing feet. Interesting, right?
Interesting.
Because it's like, for the world sense, when you have all that combination, that, man, the authority that you have, all power is in your hands, most people take that and they serve themselves.
Build their own kingdom.
Build their own kingdom, exactly. But what Jesus ended up doing is immediately right away saw that and said, I need to get my servant's towel. I need to wash some feet. And
washing the feet is one of the least
right.
jobs, not like the best thing to do.
Right. And that's the thing, though. I believe Jesus was not calling us to start a feet washing ministry, but it was literally to push us towards serving people. And that's all it comes down to. It's like, all right, I'm just going to serve people.
So what would be an example of like serving people, knowing what their needs are maybe, and what their gifts are, how can they be developed? Or
what's interesting is, like, the Bible is such an amazing leadership book. I mean, it's a book that transforms our lives, as we know, and it can give you advice on relationships, finances, but leadership. And I believe you can even see that within Jesus, because I believe serving people is there's two ways that you serve people.
Okay.
One, I believe it's obviously the loving and caring. It's the people side of things. It's, I believe it's John Maxwell who says it. People don't care what you know until they know how much you care.
Amen. That's true.
So it's that piece that's very, very adamant. It's the heart piece. But I also believe on the other side of how you serve people is you grow them.
Yeah.
You serve them by growing them, because, again, now they're not so necessarily dependent on you, but now they're growing to think like you. What I mean by that, so I'll give you two examples on both sides.
Yeah.
So on the serving others on the hearts piece, again,
Mhm.
that's like John Maxwell, if you want to think of it that way. It's people don't care what you know until they know how much you care. I remember at serving at Freedom Church, service gives you access, servanthood gives you access. All I did was I came in as the youth pastor. And I just started serving and connecting with all the different, leaders there, and just any way I could help, I'd help. Any way I can bring in some organizational structure, I brought an organizational structure.
God.
It brought trust because they knew that I wasn't, and I would hear a couple others on the team at times complain or get upset or about the structure of things, and they had the right concept. They just didn't have servanthood. And with that, no one trusted them. They were really pushed off to the side. And even though, they were right, they just went about it the wrong way. It's kind of like, eating filet mignon.
Oh, I like
Filet mignon, I do too. But trust me, I would not eat filet mignon off a dumpster.
No.
Right? Even though filet mignon's good, but if it's off a dumpster, ain't no one's going to eat that.
Yeah.
And same thing with our leadership. If you don't have servanthood, it's like that filet mignon on a dumpster. You may have the authority, you may have you may even be right.
Mm-hmm.
But if you portray it in a bad way, or the delivery is bad, it's not going to be received.
That's a good point.
And so with that, serving at Freedom, for me, I just came with the servant heart or servant attitude. And again, it's just I'm not trying to push my way, but it's like, how can I serve you? I want to do A, B, and C. Okay, awesome. You only get A done, and so-and-so may come in as, well, you get A done because you don't do this, this, and this. That's the only reason why you're not getting B and C done. Or for me, I'm coming more as like, well, how can I help? Well, this is what I need. Okay. Hey, have you thought about trying this? Maybe adding some structure here. Or maybe even if we create an org chart for the church. Maybe if we did this and, we, instead of everyone trying to do a job, we just assign different tasks to a certain job, box.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't come out as like, you guys are wrong. You guys are doing it terribly.
Mm-hmm.
Came in very humble and a servant heart. And again, it's received.
That's good.
So,
that is so needed.
It's so true. So again, that's the serving part on the heart level, I believe. And that's key. But, the last way, and I think people don't think of it like this, but the way you serve your team or others too is you grow them.
And how do you grow them?
So you don't let them complain. So I like Dr. Radke.
Oh.
Dr. Radke is phenomenal. He says issues without solutions are complaints.
Mm-hmm.
And that is something that I have taken with me at working at my job when I used to work at Comm Services, when I had a bunch of team leads under me, or when I had ministers under me. I always took that concept because, it's huge. And so, but you have to have that heart piece level, because if you don't have that, you won't be able to push them or grow them as much.
Mm-hmm.
And Jesus did this too. He had his disciples, and many times, obviously he won their hearts over. But there were a lot of times where Jesus looked at him and was like, dude, what's wrong with you? Or, oh, you little faith, or how long must I be with you?
Uh-huh.
What was he doing? It wasn't that he was burdened by them, or he was, he was challenging them, though. He's stretching them. He's getting to the point of, man, I want to see you grow. I want to see you flourish. And so with that, prime example is at Freedom Church. I had one of my guys who served with me. And again, I already served him in the sense of winning his heart and just caring for him. I saw potential, and I said, man, I want to see you joining these teams. I believe that God's calling you to ministry. And truly, I just invest in him. But I remember one time he was telling me, Josue, I see these gaps and issues.
Mm-hmm.
I said, okay. And since I already have this level of relationship, because I've served him in the sense of having trust and care, I could talk a little more stern. Mm-hmm. And we're guys, we're friends, so he knows my heart behind it. But my question back was, or my point back was, it doesn't make anyone special to see an issue. As that people can see issues all day,
mm-hmm.
But it's up to us if we're going to be a thermostat or a thermometer. Thermometer would just tell you what the issue is. Like, it's 90 degrees in here, right? But a thermostat will make a change.
That's good.
Thermometer will tell you the temperature, but thermostat will change the actual temperature. And so with that, he brought up these issues, and I pushed him back to, okay, go ahead and you tell me what you think. If you were in my position, what would you do? would do A, B, and C. Okay, maybe A is way out in left field, but maybe B's right on. I would encourage him and coach him in that, and just, hey, this is good. And I'll give him a reason why A isn't good. What am I doing there? I'm giving him the opportunity to think. I'm not thinking for him. It's, hey, what do you think? And then I'm either telling, hey, you're right on, or hey, let's come this way a little more. And he's come back and he's thanked me, and he said, "Oh, sorry, man, I remember that day you pushed me back." And he said, "I'll be honest, for a second I was a little upset, because it's like, what the heck, But then he came back and said, "Thank you." And I said, "Hey, man, that process, I want to thank Kathy McIntosh, because she put me through that process so many times, of where I brought up a bunch of issues and she kept pushing me back. Oh, Sway, give me a solution. How are we going to overcome that?"
That's good.
And now I'm able to do that for others. And so with that, that's how I believe you serve your people, is one, you serve them in the heart level by caring for them, and you serve them by growing them.
That's awesome. And I like the one beside those two when you talk about the presentation.
Yeah.
I think about presentation. I had this lady who was taught me how to cook. Lord help me. And she was a caterer. So she always would say how you present the food. She'd have all this, fancy stuff. It made a big difference. Me just throw the salad in the bowl. No, she made a design out of it. And so the same thing is like we're presenting. If we come in with the wrong heart attitude, we're not presenting the solution through this big pride thing. I'm right and you're wrong.
Right.
But you present it through humility, and the points that you make to us. Great. That is good. I like it. Thank you so much. And thank you for joining us. And I'm just excited. We have another episode coming up with Josue. And if you're enjoying these episodes, please subscribe to the channel, share it with a friend. And in the meantime, have an epic day in the Lord.